Welcome back to another Gorilla Football Denver GFD in the house. Liv Moods is here alongside.
It's not called this?
Off field. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part where I tell you we've done a rebrand this week. And apparently I was not up to speed on the rebrand. Actually, I knew it was happening and it's been plastered on every screen in the studio. So I'm just actually an idiot. But Gorilla Sports Off Field is what we're calling this. And we're back. BK's joining us, who actually just went to the Hall of Fame. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
I covered it. I didn't get in.
We've got a former Bronco that
What'd
just
you cover
got...
it in? Right? Am I right?
I didn't realize it was Bring Your Kids to Work Day, guys.
Hey.
Sorry about this.
Right.
So BK back from the Hall of Fame, and Nate Jackson just came back from practice.
Yeah, what
It
up?
is hotter than the
It's
devil's
very
butt
warm
crack
out there.
in Denver.
Very warm.
Just so you
Yeah.
guys know.
Yeah.
So not sure why Nate's in pants.
I
business.
changed into pants out of the shorts because of the
leg
shorts
thing.
factor
Ah,
in this studio.
BK likes to pretend like he forgot his
I was
pants.
planning on my timing changed. I was planning on joining y'all from my home studio and just talking about the Hall
where
of
we
Fame.
wouldn't see his calves
where you wouldn't
either
see
way.
my calves, or if I was even wearing pants or shorts. Or
Well,
Wow.
So-
really hope you never film Gorilla Sports off field without your pants on.
yeah, I'm not intending to, but
Okay. Well, now I will never be able to watch him from his home studio again without the very dangerous thought. Okay. Well, we are here in the studio. We are talking all things Denver Broncos. We've got a little bit. And as you guys know, Nate and I broke down, what was it? AFC West and AFC South.
That's right.
And this week, BK, we're coming up with an AFC East
okay.
ranking
Ooh.
together. And if we can't agree, then we've got to go our separate ways. Nate and I had to go our separate ways on the AFC South. Let me ask you, actually, which list do you like better? I'm going to start with mine.
Okay.
He's gonna like yours.
For the
you
AFC
should
South.
have just given it to me without letting me know whose it was. But okay, now we know yours.
Well,
No,
why
no.
don't you just pick the order that's gonna
Yeah,
finish
we'll
in the
see who
AFC
you're
South?
closest to.
Brandon Cristal.
AFC South. So who
You've
won
got
it?
you've
The
got Texans, Jags, Titans, and Colts in that one.
God, that's a bad division.
It is.
Anthony Richardson is intriguing. Some people think that Houston might come back to the pack this year and could have not a one-hit wonder, but maybe they.
Let's keep this to
Took
under
that
10
early.
minutes if we can.
But I think it's just for the sake of efficiency. Let's just go with the Texans because the Titans haven't done enough to jump ahead of them. You got Brian Callahan, new coach. We'll see how they do there.
So Houston at 1.
I'll go Colts 2
Wow.
if Anthony Richardson's healthy. I like their roster in parts. I like their linebacker, the tackling machine whose name escapes me that I met at the combine, and then new contract for Mike Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, baller, healthy, new contract there last year. So
Colts. So
Colts,
Houston at 1.
Houston, Colts, Jags, Titans.
Wow.
So who'd you?
See, I
have
think
first?
Loser.
I think the Jags are gonna win the division.
And that wouldn't blow me away. They were in the playoffs 2
I think
years
the
ago.
Houston Texans are going to take a step back.
Okay.
I think that they won a lot of close games last year. They might not win this year. The Broncos were one of them. Caught a lot of teams by surprise. I don't think they're going to be a bad
Broncos
team.
still had them like
They-
in the
yeah,
crosshairs.
exactly.
And,
They let it slip away. You let them off the hook. And I think the Texans, are going to be second in the division, and I think the Colts will be third, and I think the Titans will be last.
So I win. Nate loses.
well,
I think we have the rest of the season.
No,
we should probably circle back in January. But
Yeah.
No, we're gonna have to see how these age because our list could age like fine wine, which it will, or milk.
And I think I saw your list
Yeah.
on the AFC
West.
West.
Yeah.
I assume
Do you
that
agree?
so if I'm not mistaken, you had Chiefs 1, Broncos 2,
Yeah, Raiders.
Chargers, or
No,
Raiders 3,
Raiders.
Chargers 4. Yeah.
I think that's what we had. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel
well,
about that?
I don't have a problem with it. I think that the race between 2 and 4, there's a lot that goes into it, but the Raiders quarterback situation is concerning. Talking to folks out there, I think over time though, and I have brought this up, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. I do think Tom Telesco, just like he drafted good players with the Chargers, if they let him, will draft good players in LA. But if you don't get, in Vegas, but you got to get the quarterback right. Yes, picking the Chiefs, no big, no surprise. But it won't surprise me at all either if the Broncos do finish second and are in a playoff conversation. I saw where somebody predicted Adam Rank from NFL Network had him going 10-7. Somebody from the 33rd team had him going 5-ish and 12. That feels, Vegas has them at 5.5.
Yeah.
If they win more than 10, then obviously,
Yeah.
we're changing what we think about Bo Nix. It's kind of like the way Houston feels about CJ Stroud right now. Like,
Right.
if they get to
he's
that,
unproven at this point.
but it feels
Ceiling
like
high,
10
though.
is the ceiling based on what we know now with where they are.
You know, the Broncos last year could have won 10 games with it. That first game against the Raiders, they lost by a point. Sean
Their
Payton
losses were
surprised
just
onside on the very first
What was
play.
that about? Balls of steel.
But it didn't work.
It
didn't
didn't
work.
Balls of steel got
That
flattened.
was where they got one of their 2 touchdowns because they started in midfield.
Yeah, and then the Patriots at the end.
That game was brutal.
And
I
the
was
Texans
there.
game, those 3 right there. You win those 3. What, you got
The Patriots game, I'm pretty sure was Christmas Eve.
Oh,
My brother had a friend who had tickets, season round tickets. So he's like, we're not going to use them. It's Christmas Eve. We've got other stuff to do. My brother's like, do you want to go with me? Little brother sister bonding. I was like, yeah, let's do it. It was cold AF. It was sad AF. And it was just It was just not
Depressing
how I wanted
AF.
to. It was depressing AF, and it was not very jolly and Christmassy of them.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have to maybe cover the playoffs because that would have kept them alive. We know that mathematically they would have ended up on the outside looking in had they even won out just because of how the tiebreakers go.
And
But
like we
still.
talked about, Sean was throwing in the towel towards the end there. I really just don't think he was.
Let's get rid of this Russell Wilson problem.
Right.
The best way to do that is to miss the playoffs.
Right. Because can you really, I mean, you can, but does it seem appropriate to cut a quarterback that actually like helps you make the playoffs?
Well,
and,
you're talking about balls
helps-
of steel. He probably would have done that too.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the onside kick was a little crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So, okay, never underestimate the
planting
power
his
of Sean
flag
Payton
there.
and
Well, you're not
the
gonna see
And
that.
steals.
yeah, by the way, exactly. No
You will
more
not see
surprise
that.
onside kick because the new kickoff rule.
You have to declare.
I think they changed that after watching Sean Payton and the Broncos last season. They're like,
They're
yeah, we
helping
don't.
them
There's
from-
no need
from
for
Yeah.
this.
protecting
Yeah.
them from themselves.
Yeah,
Like,
basically.
hey, it worked in the Super Bowl. We get it. But how many times has it worked since? I did hear Pat McAfee talking about it the other day, though. The one time he tried it's because he did against Houston. They were so wide, and he just looked
Mhm.
and
Well, yeah. So as the kickoff return team, I used to play on that front line, and we had to watch the ball off the tee, right? Make sure the ball is kicked before you turn and run. And teams who had a tendency to bail out a little early, you saw that on film, and it was something you put in going into the game plan that week. Like if they're bailing out early and we see it, we're going to do that. And that's what Sean Payton said that he scouted with the Raiders. But how do you scout, for the first
Game
play
one,
of the
right.
season,
I
right?
think he was just trying to let Broncos country know, like, I don't mess around.
No.
You can never predict my next move here,
Yeah.
Broncos country.
Yeah.
that's what makes me nervous about the way they are going to approach kicking off in the new kickoff rule era. And I was just on a seminar with all across the entire league. Walt Anderson, who's now more involved with officiating on the broadcast side and
Mhm.
explaining it. They're talking through the hip drop tackle and how that's going to be hard to call in real time, but it's not reviewable until after the game. So if it's called, it's called. And so there's that, but the kickoff stuff and all the different nuances of it, it does feel like Sean Payton being Sean Payton and Mike Westhoff, who some people, including Michael, tell you think he invented special teams coaching,
Right.
might try to outthink you. And like one of the rules that we just heard about, if it hits in this landing zone and rolls into the end zone, then the ball only goes to the 20. So if it hits between the 20 and the end zone and rolls into the end zone, not out of bounds, it goes to the 40. You get it at the 20. But if a player's standing on the 20 or 20 and a half yard line, Nate's there as one of the blockers, just jumps up and hits the ball, bam, 40. So you're gonna have to really
Bam.
clear the 20.
Bam.
You have to really clear the 20. Or if you kick it short, they'll just return it. Or it goes automatically to the 40 if you kick it short of the 20. So
And you
I think
wonder,
it just feels like the Broncos are going to try to outsmart themselves, outsmart the teams, but outsmart themselves in the process potentially.
see, I know football pretty well. I have no fucking idea what you just said. And so I think this is going to be a colossal failure, this rule. Move the ball back to the 25
If the former player is
and
not
just
understanding,
kick it like the
yeah,
old days,
it's too
man.
much.
Here's the deal. They say they're trying to protect the health and safety of the
No fun
player and
league.
that
Oh.
and that the kickoff and kickoff return, it has a higher percentage of injuries than other plays.
It does with wedges and full speed
But they
running and all that.
eliminated the wedge
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
long
but
time
it's
ago.
football.
Exactly.
What the
Every
hell are
player
we
knows that they're
doing?
going to get hurt, and every player does get hurt. And so why
Football's
are
not
you
for
pretending to
everybody.
protect them? It's not a healthy game. It's not a safe game.
Come on, Yeah.
And I
geez.
think that this kind of and look, they're going to make tweaks to it after this year too, based on how
Yeah,
it
this
goes.
is a
And it's
one-year trial.
constantly kind of boom, boom, boom. I think it's going to be confusing
It will be confusing
for everyone.
It just feels like the Broncos are going to go out of their way to try to outsmart other teams.
well, yeah, and then you
and
feel
you just
these-
hope it doesn't backfire. Because
exactly.
then it'll put your defense against the 8 ball, similar to that sneak onside kick that
Sounds
was
like the
again.
NFL's doing too much. as
Well,
of right now.
21.8% of the kicks last year were returned
How
at
the
all.
hell do you know that number?
They just said it. They just said it. Believe me, that was not something that
I'm like, what?
They were
on
like less than
You're a rain man over
22%.
here.
I thought it was way less than that. They said less than 22%, 21.8 across the entire league, the entire season. Super Bowl, 12 kickoffs, 13 kickoffs, 0 returns, 12 through the back of the end zone.
So I move it back and just kick it.
Because you do that, and it will increase the rate of speed, but it will certainly increase the excitement of the return. For the teams that are going to kick it and going to return it, and we saw it a little Thursday night, it does feel like if you can get about 2-3 guys blocked and you've got the right returner, it is going to make for some big gain potential. And
what was the biggest return? I didn't even watch the game, but what was the biggest return you saw?
I don't think there was one that was significant because they kept running into each other. But you're also dealing with second and third team. Everyone's trying to figure it out. But it feels like once you've got
it's too
your
confusing.
best special teams players, and they spend.
But they're the best on both sides, so it's like
I agree, but I just feel like your execution will be better than your third teamers from the other night. At the same time, you ask most defensive coaches, they'll say, "Hey, we used to get it at the 20, then the 25. Fine, now it's the 30. Kick it out of the back of the end zone. We will go 3 and out, and we'll get it back for our offense. Let's not worry about all the extra stuff. Let's just play football."
I'll tell you, like the kickoffs, a lot of the times the kickoff returns saw such big holes emerge was because the kickoff team was going so fast. And they're just like, and they get out of their lanes, and all of a sudden this big hole opens up. But they're not moving very fast anymore. They're starting 5 yards away at the what yard line did they start?
They're at the 40,
and so they're not flying. They're not flying past the play. They're basically just fitting up with a guy in the hole, and just so there's not going to be a lot. I don't think there's going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a boring ass play. Actually,
I actually do too.
If the defensive coordinators have it their way, I think that's what
the
they
NFL
want.
stands for no fun league, and that's basically the whole gist of what we just said.
10 of the kickers are on. Well, not that you need to look it up. You can Google it. Are on the 40. The minus 40.
Yeah.
The kicker's back where the kicker normally is at the 35. And then you have to have a certain number of players basically in this same zone, and no one can move until the ball is caught. That was kind of the biggest thing the other night is 3 times there were penalties for the kicking team leaving a little too early.
Yeah, because they're confused.
They almost need like a red light, green light.
Yeah.
So that the second it's caught, someone just hits green light. And then
the next step.
Mother, may I?
Right.
Do you remember that game? Mother, may I?
I was born in 98. That comes
Simon
before my
Says?
time. I do know Simon Says.
She only knows crisscross applesauce, and not what it was called before that, which is politically incorrect.
Red Rovers.
Sends whoever over.
That was
know that one.
Yeah, that was a good
Is
time.
that the one where you like clothesline?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Just shoulder socket just ripped out.
You also didn't grow
the
up
fact
in
that
an
we played that
era of smear the person with the football.
What word is that?
Oh, I do know that one.
That's what
Tackle the human.
But it's 2024, so we can't talk about that game
Get
anymore.
the person.
They do still play 500 though at the trampoline park.
We called that 3 flies up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't do the math on the 500?
No, it was 3. You caught 3 and you're out.
Oh, okay. That's a much simpler way than 250, 175.
No,
I'm like, I have no idea. Do I have 500? I'm not good at math. So
you've said a lot of numbers in this short time. I think you're
I can repeat things I've heard.
Oh, okay.
I can't calculate in real time.
BK's a nerd and he knows it. Okay.
Just
He's
being
good at
honest.
numbers. Okay, really quick before we
Nobody
actually
says
get
that.
into the other stuff that I want to talk about, I do have to read this to you guys. Top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL as voted on by players. Who do you think?
I saw that Mahomes got disrespected.
Who do you think is number 1, Nate?
I saw the thing.
I didn't see the list.
They saw my video. They saw my social media
I didn't
clip.
see your
Gosh,
video. I
dang
didn't
it.
see your video. I just
But
saw
this was I want to talk about who chose these. You're saying players chose
by
these?
the players.
during
That's
the
what
regular
I'm seeing.
season. And they didn't do this when you played, but I don't know if you know exactly how unscientific this process is. A producer from the NFL Network, associate producer, comes around to all 32 teams, and they give it to him a day or two before, but then they're there to remind him. And there is a blank piece of paper with 1 to 20. You can list any 20 players you want. They're like, you can put your teammates, So having watched this process happen over multiple years, they do it during open locker room when the media is in there. You'll see the guys that actually do it. Most guys don't even do it, but the ones that do it, they'll be like, okay, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, right? They do that.
Aaron Rodgers wasn't even on the list.
I'm just saying they're just listing like the 10 guys, Justin Jefferson. Then they're going to be like, oh, the corner next to me, my left guard, and they're named 10 teammates. And then that's it. There's no fill this out.
Yeah, but I don't care what you're looking at. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't come to your brain as number 1 anytime you're asked that
I get
question,
it. Lamar Jackson won the MVP, so I got it. Is that who they listed number 1 just based on him being MVP? Because I haven't seen the list of the 10, but I saw Mahomes was disrespected.
Lamar is 1. Patrick Mahomes is 2.
Okay.
Josh Allen, the turnover machine, is 3. Jalen Hurts is 4.
Hurts
Dak
above
Prescott, the other turnover machine, is 5. That is a disgrace. CJ Stroud at 6. Brock Purdy at 7. Jordan Love at 8. Tua at 9, Joe Burrow at 10, Stafford at 11, Goff at 12.
Oh.
Yeah, well, just let you know that players are dumb. sometimes on stuff like this. Also, I think
The players are dumb.
there's no world where Dak Prescott's the 5th best quarterback in the
Hey,
NFL.
that is absolutely insane. I don't care what. It was.
But also when
it
they
was
voted
regular season last year. I don't.
But
care.
also when they voted, Jalen Hurts had just been in the Super Bowl, where had they have won, he would have been the MVP. And in fact, you could have maybe even given him the MVP in a loss. That's how well he played. And they were like 8-1 to start the year, and then lost all those games.
Right.
So by the time they voted in early November, Jalen was still balling because he's not the 4th best quarterback. In the league
just
either.
think Patrick Mahomes not being one. I
Yeah,
don't care how you look
stupid,
at it. That's insane. Dak Prescott being top 5, also insane. And then I just find it interesting. No Aaron Rodgers yet. There's
he
CJ coming off. I get
tore his
he
Achilles
was.
in the first game. So
Yeah, but this. I mean,
they voted last November. That's what I'm telling you. So they were voting on last November what they had seen in the league.
so then
this
maybe
year.
it's the
They also have Pat
media.
Surtain,
Yeah, I
though.
also think Patrick Mahomes is like a media darling. Everyone in the media really, and I know players respect him, but you also look at the Chiefs and you got Andy Reid. You got a very good roster. You have a really good defense led by a defense coordinator who's been there a super long time.
and a dominant player in Chris Jones. Is certainly when you
Right,
when he's on.
and Travis Kelce and that
But
whole
you can
machine
make
there.
that case for so many guys on this
But
list.
not
Brock
Lamar.
Purdy.
But not Lamar. Lamar, the perception is
Okay.
amongst NFL players is that he's doing that himself, and they also look at him
That
as a
is fair.
transcendent type of quarterback figure who's a freakish athlete in that position, which you don't see elsewhere. And I think players
He is a
really
really good
respect
athlete.
Lamar in a way that they don't respect other quarterbacks for his athletic ability.
But the other
That's
thing
such
too,
a good point, though. The difference between like the game, like the quarterbacks that the players that the game actually views, and then the media quarterbacks.
I guarantee
Like,
you,
that's-
if
they're
you
very
were to
different.
if you were to poll the 1,500 players in the NFL and you said you can have either quarterback, Patrick Mahomes would win in a landslide because they think he's going to make everybody better. Lamar's the most unique.
I would think there'd be more than you think, though, because I think
maybe
that,
so. Maybe
because you
so.
look at Lamar's surrounding cast.
Yeah,
He doesn't have a lot of
and he didn't have Mark
receivers.
Andrews all year.
Right. And so I think there's an idea that if Lamar had the support that he needed
Yeah,
at
if
that
he had
position,
Kelsey, if he had Andy Reid calling plays,
and if he had receivers and
Yeah.
he had a system that
he does have a good O-line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but people will then argue with you about Lamar and say, well, he doesn't throw the ball enough to warrant a good set of receivers.
Well,
That's
and-
just not his
and
game.
Oh,
that's-
I actually agree with that.
That's the
Yeah,
argument too
so that's-
for Mahomes is not only has Patrick had an amazing 6 years to start his career when he's played, and obviously taking his rookie year out of it, he's had the best statistical 6 years, even taking the Super Bowl stuff out, just
Mhm.
regular season stats of any 6 years of any quarterback ever. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. No one had a 6-year stretch
Lamar?
that was more productive in terms of touchdowns to interception. I guess if we factor Lamar's rushing yards in, that's going to skew it a little, but completion percentage, all of that. He's had the best 6 years of anybody ever in a 6-year window, and it just happens to be the first 6 years he's played, which is crazy.
It's also the Joe Burrow thing that he's 11 on that list.
He was 10, Stafford's
He's
11.
10.
And
He's 10.
Brandon's saying like it's Joe Burrow's like, after Patrick
That's-
Mahomes is the one that all the GMs
The
want.
GMs
But that's what the media says when they talk to the GM.
But here's the reason the GMs
and the players look at these things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The players don't want Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's been healthy 2 out of 4 years, right? And so do they love Joe Burrow as much as the media and the GMs do? I don't think they do. But it's also not all players, like you said, are very smart.
Here's the thing.
Like they're
Well,
not.
But let's go to your favorite team with maybe your favorite player, and we're gonna jump sports. But LeBron, the GM, has been pretty shitty, right? And you look at the Russell Westbrook move,
Mhm.
and then LeBron didn't like it, and the other stuff that he got. I get they won one championship when he basically had Wiggins traded for Kevin Love, but Wiggins would have made more sense for that team long term because of
Right.
the age thing, right?
Right.
And so just because the player thinks, oh, Lamar's awesome, a GM's going to look at it and say, who's going to make my team better versus what do we have to
Who do I wanna play
change
with?
to accentuate what he does really well versus just how, I mean, Mahomes wins the Super Bowl with his worst receiving core that he's probably going to have for a while. They upgrade it, and it's scary to think if they're healthy what they might do this year. But that's still the result you get. Lamar doesn't have Mark Andrews, has another MVP year, but isn't able to do anything in the playoffs to get over that hump.
If this is the list is chosen by players on football teams, this is indicative of the guys they respect
Sure.
and the guys they'd like to play with, right?
Mhm.
And so Aaron Rodgers not even on that list, even though he's one of the best quarterbacks alive. They don't really like.
But
I think some old weird man
He's
yelling at
annoying.
clouds.
But I think the
You're
premise
going on
is,
Tucker Carlson's podcast, going to Egypt during mini camps and like doing all kinds of weird shit. So they're like, no, this guy. No.
What
But
are
I think
his
the
little
premise
wellness
is-
retreats?
but the
Yeah,
question,
the darkness retreat.
the way it's
Yeah.
presented is
So
who
you
are the,
put
I
deep-
called it wellness. It's darkness, actually. My
maybe
bad.
it ended up being both.
Doubt
but
it.
The questionnaire basically says who are the top 100 players in the NFL this year. So that's why Rodgers was disqualified in everyone's mind immediately because he gets hurt in game 1, so they weren't even thinking about him in November.
Yeah.
Not who is who has the best resume. If not, he's right at the top of the list because he has 4 MVPs in the Super Bowl.
Joe Burrow wasn't healthy all last year.
And he still made the list.
He still made the list.
He still played.
Huh?
He played.
Like, how many games?
Aaron Rodgers played.
He
4
played half a
plays.
game. No, Joe Burrow played more than 3
10
games, didn't he?
minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Zach Wilson
That
took
had
over.
to get that off my chest. I feel so much better now. And now we can get into all things Broncos. A little bit of, I don't want to call it breaking news, but the Broncos
Joe Burrow
haven't.
had 15 touchdowns last year.
Wah, wah.
For 2,300 yards.
Is that all?
Well, I mean, I don't think he played that many games.
Huh.
How many
He
games?
played 5 games. That's pretty good numbers.
Do you guys like
That's
subscribe
3
to
touchdowns a game.
I subscribe, and I know this is stupid in the internet age, but if you have to Google something, to me, you lose the argument. Like, you should be able to win the argument with your thoughts
The
and your
second
words.
BK pulled out his
And
phone.
like he's got to
but
go. Oh no, look at the
But the
phone,
most, but the
dude."
most convincing argument isn't necessarily right. So just because I'm
Well, that's what debating's about. Embrace debate, BK.
So you're saying you like alternative facts?
No,
Because I just gave you
I like
facts
you
and
use
say-
the knowledge in your
You
head.
said 2 games. I said, oh, no, he played 5 and he threw 3 touchdowns a game, 15 touchdowns in 5 games. So the rest of the league's like, damn, if you would have played 15 games, he would have thrown 45 touchdowns.
We're like, damn, stay healthy and be there for your team.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to block better.
Wow. It sounds like
I just
there's
think
a
arguing
lot
the
of
loudest at
moving
a
parts
bar,
here.
like being right. It's sort of like instant replay. Like, well, did he catch it or not? Well, it looked like he caught. Well,
If you're on a
here's
debate
video
team,
evidence.
all right, you watch the debates. Do people look up fact like on their phone in the middle of them
No,
to
they're
bolster
supposed
their
to,
claim?
They're supposed to come
Right, you didn't come
prepared.
prepared today, BK.
to talk Joe Burrow stats.
Yeah. I'm very upset with you that you didn't know those
Well,
off
now
the top
I
of
do.
your head.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring it up every week.
Right. We'll hear it
15
again.
touchdowns last
Yeah,
year.
He would
we'll
have
hear it
45
again.
if he plays the whole season. He would have 50 because they play 17 games.
Okay,
He would
well,
have 50 touchdowns last year. He's on pace. And
On
almost
pace.
6,000
Hell of a player,
yards.
that Joe Burrow.
Maybe he's
when
going to
he's
be league
playing.
MVP this year.
all right.
Or Mo next night. First rookie to ever
Well,
win.
glad we got that off our
What else
chest.
is on the now you ready to break down the
yeah, now
AFC East?
now we can talk. Well, let's start with some Broncos stuff.
Okay,
The Broncos have informed safety Caden Stearns of their
Oh, yeah.
plans to release him per sources, a 5th-round pick of the Broncos in 2021. He
Well,
flashed a
Sean
lot
Payton talked about it today. So
well,
the sources they were right.
so the sources were correct. Sean
Yeah.
Payton did discuss it. What did Sean Payton have to say about this today, fellas?
Well, just that, and I'd heard this talking to some people that they think Caden kind of hit a wall physically, and they're worried that maybe his best football is behind him, even though he's not very old, because of these injuries that have now stacked up over really every year that he's been in the league. And so by releasing him now, they give him a chance to at least go to camp with another team and
Yeah.
let someone else get a look at him because he did clear the physical. And I think it's that they like where JL Skinner's headed. They like Brandon Jones when he comes back. They like obviously PJ Locke. And so I think that it was just let's move on. And
If you love him, set him free, you know?
Well, they clearly
Free them
don't
from
love
the
him.
Broncos.
no.
It's just
They
shackles.
clearly, the idea that's like, oh, we're doing you a favor, so you can go
That's
out
kind of
there.
how
like-
I feel like that's how they would
I
probably
know,
word
but
it.
they just
you know?
they clearly don't want him.
yeah, they don't want
around.
him. If they want him to
And-
be here, that's the easiest way to.
Yeah, and so I think that, like, you know, what I saw of Caden Stearns was a good athlete who lacked the thumping of a safety that I would want to see, because as a receiver and a tight end, I mean, you don't want to come across the middle and get your ass hit hard, you know, and that's what Kareem Jackson did, and that provided some
Sometimes a little too
intimidation back,
hard.
a little too hard for people.
Jeez.
You know, he got in people's feelings a little
He
bit.
did.
It was a little too hard.
But you know what? He was a football player. Macho
Exactly. You're talking
man.
about the no fun
He's
league,
not
right?
thinking about
It's
feelings.
part of the.
You know?
It's the same ethos that changed the kickoff rule is what made Kareem get suspended multiple times because he hits
Right.
too hard. He hits the same way as everybody else does with the crown of the helmet. That's the most dangerous weapon on the field. You hit with it all the time. Everybody's doing it. The offensive linemen and defensive linemen are smashing helmets every play. They don't find them, but Kareem did because he did it like a missile. He did it harder than everybody.
and
Right.
fast.
Right.
You blinked your eyes, you missed it.
Now, Caden Stearns was the opposite. He would just never come in and hit you. And him being, you know, opposite Justin Simmons sometimes, like neither of those guys are really hitting. And so to me, I want someone back there who's going to bring it. And Caden Stearns was not that guy. Like I saw him
Mhm.
turn down a couple big hits where you could just lay this guy out. This is what football is. You have to control the middle of the field here. And he would just turn down and not lay that hit on. And I think ultimately, you know, the injuries as well. He was a decent special teams player, not good enough to keep around. So obviously the young safeties are playing well enough for them to feel good about that.
Yeah, I think they like
Young team.
Devin Key too as well. So he's getting some run up back there with Skinner, kind of as your second set of safeties. And I realize there's obviously a rotation until Brandon Jones gets back.
Yeah, he's injured, right? What about Justin Simmons coming back off the couch, huh?
I know there's plenty of people in that building that would love to see Justin Simmons walk through those doors. We just saw where Kareem Jackson goes to Buffalo.
Yep.
Quandre Diggs now has a job as he broke that news himself yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet.
I didn't.
Yeah, I can pull it up, but he beat Adam and Ian and everybody. It was just funny because he did it in third person. So Quandre Diggs is in Tennessee, and Justin's just biding his time to find the right fit. But I think,
is there a world where the Broncos bring him back?
I think so, and it may come because
you're the insider.
They get into a game. And they realize, okay, we need another adult in the room to keep the defense.
Playtime's over, kids.
For as good as Surtain is, and for what they like it in PJ Locke, Brandon Jones is coming over. One, we'll see how healthy he is. He's going to miss certainly this first preseason game, if not the first two, because they're erring on the side of caution with the hamstring.
Right.
Then, if they just aren't ready for these young kids, if they're not ready for prime time, you call Justin up and you offer him a 1-year, $7 million deal and say, hey, it's half of what you're making. You're down the road. We know you love it here. Just come on and let's see if we can get this on track. And there's definitely people in the building that want him, but there's also people that think it was time to move on.
I think the one guy who is the most powerful and has the most sway is the guy who let him go, and that's Sean Payton. I don't think Sean Payton wants him back. Personally, This is Sean Payton's show. Justin Simmons is like the only star there. Other than who's the biggest star on the team?
PS2, but he's so understated.
Exactly, he's so quiet. Justin Simmons and Justin Simmons, his presence harkens back to all the old regimes, to some losing, unfortunately, and to just a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And I think that they moved on for a reason, not just money. They moved on for a reason, and they moved on from Jerry Jeudy for a reason, and Russell Wilson for a reason. And as good as a guy as Justin Simmons is, as much as everybody loves him in the locker room, at the organization, in the community, at the same time, there's a new energy there, and I think that if you bring him back, it does change the dynamic in the locker room.
Keep some of that losing stench in the air, maybe a little bit. And also, do you think that Sean Payton maybe just has the ego of, if you go back, it's admitting that maybe you made a mistake, and he doesn't want to do that? Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't think anyone likes to be wrong, but certainly not Sean Payton.
Sean has no problem admitting he made mistakes from yesteryear. It's like Todd Davis is a coaching intern, and they basically tried to hide Todd Davis on the practice squad years ago, and the Broncos claimed him. Todd comes here, wins the Super Bowl, obviously has a nice run here, and then finished up in Minnesota. And Sean mentioned that the other day when someone asked about Todd. He has no problem admitting what happened years ago. He's not going to, in real time, admit that he's wrong very often, unless it ultimately turned out okay, like, oh, I actually blew that call, but, turned out fine.
He trusted his gut and let Brandon McManus walk, and you saw what happened with that creepo,
Allegedly,
it fucking happened on the flight. You know about that? Yeah, there's a lawsuit filed against him and his Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually, the whole team for some improper conduct on a flight towards some flight attendants on the way to London. Look into this; it's really gross. Brandon McManus accused of doing some really just disgusting, creepy, pervy behavior. Did he get picked up? Is he on the team right now?
He was with Washington. They released him when the story came.
Yeah, because it's super gross. It's like
people. I think some people struggle with creepy pervs on their team.
Well, not anymore, because
especially if any of those teammates have daughters, or sisters, or
the NFL,
their mama's boys.
Maybe all walks of life are riddled with creepy pervs. Is that public knowledge? I'm just saying, locker rooms. There's plenty of scumbags, and in every office building in America, it's not men and women.
Don't say that while we're sitting in the girls' floor.
I'm just saying, your law
has
of
a creepy
averages.
perv.
It's not just the NFL, right? Like when the NFL has.
What do you have a percentage of creepy pervs and average things on your phone? Can you look that up?
Yeah, why don't you look that stat up?
Come on, stat boy.
Creepy pervs in office buildings.
Was there a story the other day though about Lawrence Taylor moving and having trouble because he didn't let the town know that he's a registered sex offender?
Oh man!
And so you have to deal with that from time to time.
I mean, in all fairness, I will never be a registered sex offender. But if I were to, I don't know if I would necessarily want to shout it from.
Hey guys,
by the way,
legally,
I'm your new neighbor.
I'm new to town, and I'm a creepy perv.
I don't know. There's a great Will Forte SNL sketch where he's dressed like a very creepy guy on Halloween and so he's going around telling his neighbors that he's a sex offender. Like for Halloween, he's like I said, but you do have to do it legally. Not that you would want to.
No,
Nobody wants
for
to.
sure.
The better thing to do is just don't be a creepy perv. Don't be a sex offender. There's your PSA. Maybe we don't.
PSA. Don't be a creepy perv, and you shouldn't have as many problems as a creepy perv would. There you go. Moving on. Okay, so nobody picked him up. Not surprised there. No. There is another. Okay, we're gonna try it. Ioma.
Yeah. Uwazurike.
Okay.
They do call him Innie. They call him Innie, like the belly button, like an Innie, like an. They call him Innie. That's his nickname, and easier.
Innie, like.
Do you know he drives an Audi? Just kidding.
He did, but
me falling for it.
He lost
really?
It.
Total. I was like,
I think he might have lost it in a bet.
Okay, officially has been reinstated by the NFL and added to the Broncos 90-man roster. How do we feel?
I'm good. You know, like the NFL has saturated its market now with gambling. They have how many gambling partners, Brandon? 5. They've totally gone to bed with these companies, and for so long preaching how they were going to stay away. Now they've moved to Vegas. They're completely involved in the game, and they want to keep the players out of it. And I understand the players do need to stay out of it, but they also need to understand
when it's everywhere.
Exactly. They also need to understand that the players are going to have these moments where they get caught up, and they want to make examples of players to make sure that this is a clean game and all that. But to make an example of a young man like that who just has his career starting and gets banned for a whole year, I think that was a little heavy-handed, and I'm happy to see him back. Hopefully, he's got the help he needs, and he can stay clean off of that stuff because they're watching.
One Calvin Ridley, wasn't he?
Yeah, they suspended him for a whole year.
Yeah, that was like a big. I remember that was probably one of the first. He definitely wasn't the first one that had dabbled in betting, but he was probably the most notable person.
Well,
that had
he was away from the
up
team for mental health reasons, and then he's placing parlays on his phone.
So he was away from the facility, and they caught him.
Yeah, like
even games he wasn't playing in.
But how did they catch him? Like how they monitoring his phone?
I don't know FanDuel.
They might do the IP address.
The sportsbook apps. Like if I obviously work for FanDuel, so when I'm on my app, it's all location based. So if even my app that works here, because Colorado, FanDuel is in Colorado and sports betting is legal in Colorado. But if I were to travel to Florida, I'll pull up the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and automatically my location services pulls up the list of states where it's legal and makes you select which state you're in. And you can click and lie and say, "Oh, I'm in Colorado," but it'll track your phone and say no. So whatever you place on your phone, your location services, with whether you like it or not, are always on.
And I don't know. Look, like there's been stories forever about like Apple or Google. They won't share their,
these betting companies, if they're partnered with the NFL, they will share their data with the NFL. So they'll get the IP addresses of every single player, run it through some software, and see if any of those are matching to any of these games.
Well, and that's where guys got in trouble. Like the Williams kid in Detroit is if you're in the building or every team when they check into a hotel has a secure Wi-Fi that's a team Wi-Fi that's separate from Hilton Honors or Marriott. It's a Broncos Wi-Fi, a Raiders Wi-Fi. And if you're on that Wi-Fi and you place a bet, you're sitting in your room on Saturday night watching your alma mater, and you're like, "Oh, equipment guy told me that the punter is hurt, so they can't punt ever." Whatever.
But nothing's preventing you from going down to the payphone and calling your Uncle Steve and being like, put 1,000 on the over.
$20 on my anytime touchdown tonight.
Exactly. Because this guy just got hurt, and I am now in the game plan, and I know I'm going to get the ball.
Coach told me I'm
scoring. Just have anyone that's not your spouse just set up their own account and don't connect to the damn team Wi-Fi, and you can gamble all day and all night, or just don't gamble on the NFL if you're in the NFL, and just gamble on college football.
Probably safest to just not gamble on the sport that you play.
Yeah, I was, I had not scored a touchdown yet in the NFL, and I was on a goal line package where I knew I was going to get the ball. There was this player that was designed for me to get a touchdown, and
what was it called?
I don't remember. It was like this return motion thing down on the side, down on the goal line. I knew that if we get down on the goal line, he's going to call his play. I'm going to score a touchdown. So much so that the night before the game, it was here in Denver. My parents were in town. I showed my dad the play on the playbook. I'm like, this is what's going to happen if we get down there. And they were in the stands right there. We ended up on the 1 yard line, and I scored a touchdown on that play right in front of my parents. It was a beautiful moment. And had I known, if I had the gambling things been going on at that time, and I'd known I was in the play, I probably would have called my friend and been like, hey, man. Not dad, but like
$100 on this anytime touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and here's the thing too. So they're getting their phones monitored. No one's betting enough. If you're going to bet crazy money, everybody's going to see it. So the players, even if they've got more money, they're not going to bet so much. You shouldn't be betting tens of thousands of dollars. If you're just betting because you want to bet, don't bet on the NFL or have other people do it for you. And just
problem is some players, as crazy as it sounds,
they're dumb.
That's not what I was going to say. Are living paycheck to paycheck. These
Yeah.
guys lose all their money in the offseason and need the money.
Yeah.
You know, and they're trying to keep up with the other guys in the locker room. Maybe they get some gambling debts.
Yeah,
maybe they're
you
playing
don't want to
cards.
be the one guy that doesn't have the flashy new whatever and the know.
But the difference, like we're all doing the same job here every day,
Mhm.
but the difference in paychecks, like when
Kinda
I was a
sad.
practice squad receiver, my locker was right next to Rod Smith, and he had been in the league for 12 years. He was making a lot of money, and he would send me upstairs to get his check, and I would go get it, and I'd look at it on the way back down to my locker. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
You should ask
This
for a
is
cut of it.
this is 1 week, Rod, because
That's
this is
crazy.
yeah, exactly. So
Well, and it's crazier when you see what you're pulling into the bank and going.
yeah,
It's crazier they didn't have direct deposit.
no, they didn't back then.
And
I
you get
actually
a
like
check
getting a
every
check.
Friday.
Remember?
You get a check
I'm
every
all
Friday.
fucking-
You want to hear a fun story about our pal Alfred Williams? And he's told the story on air. He didn't have a bank account in Cincinnati when he got drafted. He had one here in Boulder. So he would get a check every week, and he just kept sticking him under his mattress. So he finally comes home on the bye week and deposits his first 9 game checks or whatever because he didn't have.
I bet that looks
Wow.
nice in the bank account. Yeah. Okay.
It was nice going into the bank with a check like that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was- I mean,
Feeling like a baller.
yeah.
Feeling like Rod Smith for a second, except it was 9 weeks.
Yeah.
instead of one.
Well, that's why it probably had to suck when rookie, like low. It's gotten better, I imagine. But they'd be like, "Hey, go get McDonald's, go get Wendy's," and they'd make you pay for it a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of the time. And
Yeah.
that's, you're making more money than a lot of people, but still, nothing's guaranteed. It's not like Rod or your top guys.
I was on the practice squad, and we had a rookie dinner at Del Frisco's, and the
Woo.
$26,000. That's what the bill was. And there was like 3 or 4 of us who had to pay, and there was like guys coming in, like Ashley the Lee came in, and he was a rookie the previous year, and they hit them hard, and so they're gonna now hit us hard. He didn't even come to the dinner. He came in at the end. He ordered 2 like the most expensive bottles of wine on the list, and she comes out and was about to open them. He's like, no,
"Nah."
I'm taking them home,
Took him to
and he
go.
just left. He's left with bottles of wine. Thanks, Ashley.
My God, that
but
is
that
not
was-
a cheap place to die.
No, but that's what you did. Like as a rookie, you get hit pretty hard, and then the
I've
next
seen
year
videos
you're like,
that where it's like the
Yeah.
rookies have to take the check, and
But-
it's like
yeah,
Your old teammate
a lot of money.
DJ Williams told a great story about how Champ would often pick up the bill, or guys would jump
Oh, yeah.
on a flight to Vegas if Mike gave you the 2 days off because Victory Monday plus Tuesday. And he said Champ would always pay, and DJ was a first round pick too, obviously. He said one time Champ just left, and that meant DJ kind of it fell on him,
yeah.
and so he ended up paying to get everybody back, and never said anything about it. And at some point, Champ came up to him and was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to see how you'd react." He's like, "I don't have a problem doing it, but I want to see if you're going to come ask me for money or how
Yeah.
everyone else was going to act." And
Yeah.
I appreciate that you also paid some. I don't mind.
Yeah.
So you get guys like that.
Oh
that
yeah,
are-
that night at dinner, Jake Plummer was there, and he felt really bad because it got out of hand,
Mhm.
and he like pulled me aside and put a bunch of cash in my hand to help me pay for it because I was on the practice squad. I wasn't making any money.
Aw. Who is the nicest? And I would love for you to find like a hot take answer to this if you can. Who is a former Broncos player that would surprise people at how genuinely kind they are?
Well, I think Jake Plummer.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, he was a great teammate. He was a very humble guy. Knew everyone in the locker room, wasn't just like all about the offense or whatever. And he was just, he drove a Honda Element.
See, you gotta love that. A humble king.
Yeah, and he just didn't want the attention.
life.
He had like a shaggy beard, and he wasn't
Shout
like,
out Jake.
yeah, he wouldn't wear anything flashy. He was just like all
I
about.
I don't
like,
think he owns anything flashy. To
no,
wear.
no,
The-
and he's still a very humble guy. Good friend of mine.
I
love
imagine Nate will back me up on this, and I've now been covering the league for a long time and just pro sports in general. You're not going to meet a nicer, more genuine person than Steve Atwater. For as
Really?
vicious as he was on the field, he is
He's
as
just a teddy bear.
just nice and kind.
Yes.
And being at the Hall of Fame this weekend, and he's there with his wife. And he and I did a show together for a long time, and I would start and end every show. Future Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, then Ryan Edwards and Mace did it with them. Future Hall of Famer, and we would introduce him to Hall of Fame voters and this and that. He deserved to be in a long time ago, just like Randy Radishar, but it hasn't changed to one bit, other than it
Right.
has just cemented the legacy that we already knew, and he should have already been there. But ask how the family is every day, or when you
Aw.
see him, it's just who he is. And if he can help you with something, he's just the nicest guy. That's my answer.
Love it. Okay. Well, speaking of Hall of Fame, Randy, former Bronco, waited 35 years to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Nate had a really great tweet. He had 2,049, sorry, I was going to say 400, 2,049 career tackles. Then he waited 35 years to get inducted. That's 58.5 tackles per year he spent waiting. Look at you, math guy. Little
That's
nerdy
good
math guy.
I definitely hit the
Math
calculator.
guy.
I use my phone for that.
Okay, well,
Still.
that's fantastic. And that's a long time to wait. How was that experience? Was it cool to see? Obviously, it's a cool moment regardless.
It's always a cool moment. And, you know, like I was there for Steve versus say Champ, who's first ballot. And, you know, that was great too. And Mr. Boland got in that same year. But then when Steve finally gets in, and it's the same year as Peyton Manning, but John Lynch was in Peyton Manning's class. It was all jumbled because of COVID in the 100th year. So it was a really big weekend a couple of years ago. But Peyton first ballot, John waited 9 years, right? John, former teammate of yours, had a Hall of Fame career from the jump. He should have been probably first ballot also, but had to wait those extra years. So Randy, who had those crazy numbers on a great defense, the national people that wouldn't see him, the East Coast, it really was an East Coast bias. And Dr. Z, Paul Zimmerman for Sports Illustrated all those years, was like leading the charge in the voting room saying, those numbers can't be real. Those numbers can't be real. But you talk to anybody that was around, not just Jim Sacamano, who did the stats with the coaches, any coaches, but Tom Jackson, who's there to present them. And I'm talking to TJ. He's like, look, I was there every Monday. They'd come in. They would have charted the tackles. We will then watch the game film. But Randy, 17 solos, 6 assists, like every week for a decade, it happened. And you can go watch the video of Dr. Z, who's no longer with us. But if anybody want to go watch all of those games, and a lot of times it was 14-game seasons through most of that. He should have been in a long time ago. Steve Atwater should have been in. Steve Atwater, I'll tell you, Dennis Smith should be in. And other guys from the Orange Crush, Louis Wright, Billy Thompson, maybe TJ himself. Rod Smith should be a Hall of Famer. The Broncos have gotten more representation of late with 7 guys going in the last 6 classes when you add John Lynch, D. Ware, and Peyton. But they're still so underrepresented. Mike Shanahan's going to be the next one.
Yeah,
probably.
he's going next.
And we know Vaughn.
I was just going to ask.
The second Vaughn's done 5 years later.
That was going to be my follow-up question.
It's going to be Shanny.
It's
gotta be.
I was going to say, which former Bronco is next up in line, and you think it's Shanahan?
It should be Shanny. Carl Mecklenburg's another one, but he kept changing positions. He'd make the Pro Bowl at nose tackle, then he'd move him outside, then he'd play linebacker. But it'll be Mike. Because Mike came close a couple years ago, and Don Coryell got in, but Mike loves Don Coryell. So, like, Mike couldn't have been happier that Don Coryell finally got in. And so Mike should be next, and hopefully it's next year. And then we should have a lot more hype around it. And it was kind of a bummer. Like it was just me and Chris Thomason from the Gazette were the only people that were there covering Randy's induction beyond the Broncos web people. But that also allowed me to walk in the parade with TJ and Randy. And that was really cool because he's from Champion, Ohio, 40 minutes away. They had the Champion high school marching band come down, and right at the start of the parade, Randy gets out of the car to go in and like thank all of them. Then gets back in the car, they go, and everyone's yelling at him. They know who he is. He's obviously the oldest in the class. So many Ohio State fans, they may not have all watched him play, but then you also had people going, hey, my brother went to high school with you. I'm a so-and-so. You played with my brother. And they're like, oh, how's he? You know, like Randy's yelling from the thing. And there were Broncos fans all along it. It was just a really cool experience. And then, you know, we saw his speech. And even though it took him 35 years, just like with Steve with the 19, once you're in, you're in. And after you get through the weekend where it's like a wedding, and especially when you're from 40 miles away, we're at the event Saturday night. Every other person was related to him. And he said he hadn't seen some of these people either ever or in 50 years. So awesome. It was really cool. Long overdue, but I was glad to be able to cover it because the Hall of Fame really is a special place. Over 2,000 tackles, and that's in 10 years, a 10-year career. So that's over 200 tackles a year. Quick Tom Jackson story that's actually unrelated to Randy Gradishar. 2003 Super Bowl, January. It's in San Diego. I was a rookie, just got signed by the Niners, right? And I don't have any connections, but I'm in San Diego trying to go to the parties, okay? And so I'm with a buddy of mine, actually my high school quarterback named Justin, and we go to Lee Steinberg's day party. It's a zoo party. That was really cool. We met these girls who said, you got to come to the Playboy party with us tonight. We didn't have tickets. That sounds great. Yeah, but we didn't have tickets, right? But we went anyway. And so we showed up, and they're like, whoa, we'll get you in. We'll get you in. So we show up. We all walk up in a herd. The guy lifts the rope for the girls and then drops it in front of me and Justin. He's like, nope. Like, you guys have tickets? I'm like, no. He's like, get out of here. So we go back to the sidewalk. We're like, how are we going to get in? I run into this girl I had met a couple nights before. She had one ticket and she gave it to me. We needed one more ticket. Okay.
Right. Can't go in without your friend.
Right. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. So I walk up to the will call desk. Right. And I'm like, and she's like, name. I'm like, Jackson, and she's like looks down. She's like, Tom. I'm like, yep, that's me. And she's like, crosses off the name, hands me my ticket, and I went into the party thanks to Tom Jackson.
Tom Jackson is still pissed.
Yeah. My brother's name is Tom Jackson.
Odds are,
my real brother.
odds are when TJ got there, since he had been on TV for a while, they also let him in.
Or he just didn't show up.
Or he maybe didn't show up.
Yeah, because like they get put on all those.
There's so
we had a FanDuel Super Bowl party, and we had a guest list of like Joe Burrow was supposed to stop by, like all these different, and none of the. That's not why he didn't stop by. He could have easily been on,
Yes, I know he could have gone to a party.
Yeah, come on.
I realized he wasn't playing a game.
Honestly, but yeah, a lot of them they don't unless they really have to do a lot.
Well, there's
of these
so many
things,
parties
they
at
don't really
Super
do
Bowl.
them.
There's so many parties.
There's
back then though, it was that one,
amount.
and it was the
Maxim party, Playboy party, Sports Illustrated, and that was it.
I got to go to the Fanatics party in Arizona.
Oh, really? I had a friend that
with
went
my
that said that was the best party they've ever been to in their life.
It was really fun.
What made it so good?
Well, I went with my best friend Ashley, and Brandon Marshall, actually.
Which one?
Because she
linebacker or receiver?
Receiver.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
B. Marsh, we were teammates.
Yeah. Yep. So, because she worked with him at his I Am Athlete, and I was guesting with them a lot and doing some work with them, and so she called me and was like, "You should come with us." I went. Super cool. A little too bougie for my liking. I mean,
is that the Biltmore Day party on the Saturday?
Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, you name it, any relevant person,
Lil Wayne
was there in that party. And then there's little old me that's like,
you're relevant,
I'm from Highlands Ranch, Colorado. I mean, it just was like, it was a really cool experience. I was like in touching distance of Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, which
did you touch them?
I didn't.
Okay.
So, I didn't want to be a creepy perv.
My friends,
so I kept my hands to myself, just drinking my drink.
Brandon McManus would have walked up behind him and started grinding on him.
My friends
Lawrence by the hair.
My friends had two different perspectives. One who's a restaurant owner and owns some clubs said it was the coolest party he's ever been to.
Very cool.
His DJ friend who does the production company and handled the DJ for that and for Drake's party, he said that party sucked. He goes, "What's a cool party? With 3,000 celebrities all looking at each other to see who's the coolest, or a party with 3,000 hot girls?" And I'm like, I guess the second one. He's like, yeah, exactly.
What about a party with 3,000 hot guys, Brandon?
This was him saying, or even
it was cool, but I have to tell you,
was there a lot of like as people are talking, they're looking at, oh well, who's over there? Like,
well, it's
sometimes
there were a lot of notable people. Don't get me wrong. I've never been someone that's like ooh and ah over these people because they're humans. At the end of the day, we wake up and we zip our pants the same. We're just at the end of the day, we're just humans doing our best. Okay, so I've never really been like a fangirl of many.
What about if you see this guy at Dwight Freeney's party? That was kind of cool.
That is cool. Well, he looks like
he's a surprise.
I can't.
He used to play for the Bulls.
Oh, Michael Jordan.
Who was? They kept showing him on.
Creep taking pictures of Michael Jordan across the room.
I didn't even take that.
Yeah, sure, didn't take that.
No, I'll show you my shirt.
I will tell you, there's one player.
Mark took it.
There is one player I would fangirl over, and it would be Carmelo Anthony. That is the only player I think I would ever be like, because growing up, that was my LeBron.
He was your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's very few, but that would probably be one of them. I would actually probably feel that way as well about Lamar Jackson, despite what I said earlier.
So MJ was there. He and Dwight Freeney apparently play golf like 5 days a week.
Oh.
And so he was there. And then he and Julius Peppers with the Carolina, they have that connection too.
And then you took a picture of him at what point during the night?
How far did you have to zoom?
No, I was
like,
he's like over there. He was in the whole cigar area at Freeney's party.
His zoom was on 12 times.
Was there. Peyton, I missed Peyton.
Creepy
Peyton was there. Everybody was. And so I was actually talking with somebody and like, this guy has no peace. And I go, he came to a party and sat in the middle of the room. Michael Jordan certainly can be as private as he wants.
Yeah.
And he had his, like one guy by him, but the guy that owns the tequila company with him's there. Emmett Smith's there. Warren Moon, like people. He was mildly accessible. He took some pictures on the way out. It wasn't, oh, I'm up here in this VIP. It's my guy's party. I'm just gonna hang out here.
There's other legends around him. He's not feeling like he's the only guy.
Right. There was no. I mean, certainly like, oh shit, there's Michael Jordan, but it wasn't. Oh, that's just Michael Jordan. And then Charles Oakley walked in on his way out. But every Colts legend was there, and other Hall of Famers were there, and so it was cool. But you're like, all right, if I'm at the party where Michael Jordan is, probably a cool party.
Big party.
So, okay, Randy Gradishar's party was cool too, though.
We have been blabbing, but let's really quickly
pick the AFC East.
AFC East, let's rank it. We've got the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Giants. Oh,
you put the Giants in the East?
No.
Of the AFC East. Switch conferences on them.
Oh my gosh.
They're in the
oh my gosh. The Patriots.
Yeah.
They all wear red, white, and blue.
I'm sorry. Giants are Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders, right?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. That's not the Giants. It's the Patriots. who are just as sad as the Giants, I would imagine, this season.
Sadder.
So I've got the Patriots dead last, and I think we can all agree on that. And if not, fellas,
Some people think they're the
grow
worst
up.
team in football.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're going to be horrible.
Vegas has them as the worst.
Yeah.
4.5 wins.
Mhm.
The only one's lower than the Broncos at 5.5.
Cool.
I think someone else is tied with the Broncos
Panthers,
at 5.5.
maybe.
Yeah,
Feels like Panthers.
yeah. I agree. Patriots.
So Patriots 4.
Yeah, we're not going to
Now,
Four.
now 1 through 3. If you this might be a hot take. In the AFC East, in my opinion, 1 through 3 are pretty interchangeable.
I'm gonna tell. I think the Bills are gonna win the division.
They should.
I'm sorry.
What
You don't like Josh Allen? You don't like Von
Sorry,
Miller?
a
You
little
don't
bit
like
of
Von
acid
Miller?
reflux. My bad.
You don't like Von Miller? I like Von Miller.
Josh Allen, when it matters,
I'm just saying I think they're a better team.
But
Yeah.
they've won the division a
But they're
bunch
gonna
with
still
him. They
win
keep winning the
division.
division with him.
Whoop-de-doo. Do you play
We just you said who's going to win the division.
Yeah, but
Yeah, who
but
cares?
yeah, I don't think I think their roster, they didn't make any improvements. If
if Keon Coleman can play, that kid is going to take the league by storm. He's awesome.
He's funny.
Okay, well,
He's
just
funny
because
as
you're
shit. I think he
awesome
can
doesn't
play.
mean you win football
He's
games.
so cool.
He's awesome.
He's like Joe Burrow, but a
Okay,
receiver.
okay. Jets, there was a lot of hype around the Jets
Yeah.
before Aaron Rodgers got injured. Do we feel confident that he can do it?
I think he's good enough to get him 9 wins, but I don't even think he's gonna stay healthy. I really don't.
It
Maybe
feels it's hard to
So
predict.
you both
it.
have the Bills at 1.
And that
I do.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I can't put the Dolphins ahead of the Bills either, because even with
Health.
220 million in his pocket, I just can't trust Tua until I see him not only stay healthy but then go win playoff games. I get it was 0 degrees in Kansas City, and they kept losing players from Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and guys just kept falling by the wayside. Right, Jalen Waddle was banged up, and so I like the speed on their roster is insane.
Dolphins at 1.
Okay, I think Nate and I are going to be on the right side of history. on this
Bills at 2.
one. Jets. 3.
Yeah, I
Jets 3. Patriots 4.
got Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots.
Nate and I are in lockstep on this.
Yeah,
See, y'all did 2 on Friday, but only 1 today. We're going to do another division real fast.
No, just 1 today.
just one.
Okay.
Because we still haven't shown the public, the social media world, our AFC South yet.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
So AFC East, are you on Team Liv or Team? I almost
Losers.
said creepy perv. No, they are not creepy pervs. Team Liv or Team Loser? Choose wisely.
It's a tough call.
Yeah, it is tough. No, I think I've just built such a brand on being a Bills Mafia hater that it would be wrong of me to say.
Well, let me ask you this.
The
You
Bills
can
win.
build a brand however you want, but isn't betting about winning money and putting your feelings to the side?
It is, but you know how many times I bet on Josh Allen against the Chiefs and he screwed my wallet? So
Well,
I'm
that's not
over
going to
it.
affect you in winning the division, although I guess they do play each other once.
You know what? The thing is, if I don't like the team, I just don't bet on them.
Okay.
I'll put my money elsewhere, like on the Broncos to win
To
games.
cover
To
the-
win the
over
Super Bowl.
5.5.
No, to win the Super Bowl.
No,
Those
the
odds would
Broncos
be.
winning over 5.5 games.
Are you-
I feel very.
And are you
confident
betting
about.
over on Bo Nix in 28.50?
Thought about that.
167 a game. Seems so easy, but
Anything that seems easy in the world of betting is probably not. But I do kind of like
it'd
it.
be cool if you could bet on the Broncos to have 2,500 rushing yards or some crazy stat like that.
That would
Because I
be
feel
nice.
like that's how they're going to help hold his hand. Although watching practice, and I obviously missed Friday and Saturday because I was in Canton, but you can see him. We keep hearing him talk about stacking days, but you can see it all starting to kind of come together for him, and that's encouraging.
Very.
Yeah, he's going to be the starting quarterback. I've known it all along.
I
They
felt it in his bones.
I felt it in my
guys.
bones. They liked him from the start. I knew they were going to draft him. I think they're going to start him. I think he's going to be good. And to your point about, running the football, teams are going to stack the box and make him throw. And he's going to get to throw. And so he's going to have some opportunities. Anytime you think you're just going to be able to do one thing and just ride that,
Good luck.
other teams don't let you do that. They're
Unless you're the
smart.
Niners.
No, they
seem to
don't.
have- those couple of years with Kyle.
But still,
you're
they're
right. Fundamentally, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So you have to be able to do everything offensively, and you practice everything. And I think Bo Nix is going to be able to run Sean Payton's offense. I don't think it's going to be as boring as people think.
Not
I
me
think they're gonna
gulping
push-
into the mic. I apologize. I
I
just realized that was a little bit of ASMR while you were
do I
trying
have
to
time
talk.
to ask you a wide receiver question?
Oh, yeah.
Because you haven't been out there, you haven't played the position, knowing how jam packed it is, and I get that it's easy to see kids flash, especially when they're 6'5". But you see Vele, and then you see Tim coming off the injury. Is Tim Patrick going to make this team?
We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, we
last
talked about
time.
that. It's going to be tough for him. I think it's going to matter how they see Marvin Mims on offense. If Marvin Mims is a player on offense that they think he's going to be like the number 3 receiver, sometimes the number 2, I don't see Tim, making it. But if Marvin's just going to be a returner, Still doing it?
Did another
Still doing it? Yeah,
by
no. Okay,
accident.
let's pause and listen to Liv.
We just cut
Drink
Liv's
her
mic
water.
so she can drink water in peace.
But if they don't figure Marvin's going to factor in too much offensively, I see him keeping Tim. But I also see like Tim being a game day inactive, because you think about Josh Reynolds and Cortland Sutton, right? And then Troy Franklin, they probably want to use him somehow, right? And then they got to me, LJ Humphrey is going to be up for games.
I think you're 100% right.
And because he's a reliable receiver too. And
looking at him, he might be your fourth guy, but you're like,
yeah,
we know he's good on teams. We're just going to see him every week.
Right. And so where does Tim fit? Because if he's not catching passes in a game, why is Tim Patrick on the field? Right?
Well, let me throw it at you a different way then. Because they need to protect some of these young guys like Troy Franklin, I'm saying roster-wise, can you see a scenario where they cut Tim and ask him to be on the practice squad for as long as they need him until...
I don't see him wanting to do that. Practice squad
Well,
player.
especially if there's a team that'll put him on their 53, but if the Broncos won't, I don't know how many other teams will. I'm not saying they won't.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, and there might be an injury that happens in the next 2 or 3 weeks that that forces his hand or whatever, because that usually does happen. Hopefully not. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Who knows how many they'll keep? But Tim is in a tough spot. He needs to start making plays in practice, and he needs to probably go out in preseason and prove that he can do it. Mm-hmm. It's not enough to just be like, look at my tape from 3 years ago. He's going to have to go out and show it, probably in a game situation, to show that he has that extra something, that like intangible game day presence and playmaking ability that some of these young players don't have. Yeah. And so when you go out there and show that, like I was in multiple battles where I had to go out in the last preseason game and have a good game, to be able to prove that I belonged, and I was able to do that. And so Tim might have to do that at the age of 30, which is kind of crazy.
Do you think we'll see a named quarterback starter before the Colts? Because I'll let y'all know, I don't. I think we'll see it next week. They'll be like, hey, Bo's the starter. Let's get ready for the Packers. Packers are coming in. We're going to go ones versus ones.
I don't see what good it does to name a starter right now for anything. It's
before
in the middle
Sunday.
Of
You're saying before Sunday.
No, I don't.
But next week, would that make sense before the Packers come in?
Name it. You're gonna like get it by seeing how the practice unfold. But he's not gonna say, "Yep, we're naming Bo Nix the starter going forward relative to the quarterback battle." I don't think you're gonna see him do that.
You gotta figure out how to make
and
a
there you go.
Relative
to. Do you think when he hangs out with his family, he goes relative to relatives?
I would smack him if he did.
Like his extended family,
relative
especially
to my relatives to my relatives.
Nate is a voice actor. If you didn't know, and
call me.
Yeah, give him a call.
I'm a crisis actor.
The wide receivers on the Broncos, I think, will be the most intriguing storyline this season. I'm excited to see how it unfolds. Bo Nix is the starter as of now. Breaking news. We don't actually know that for sure, but we definitely feel confident about it.
If we could bet that right now, I would bet that.
For sure. AFC East rankings, we're going to drop those on social media, but you're either team loser or team winner. Choose wisely. And this has been another rebranded.
Can't we be team Von Miller? We'll be team Von Miller, and you can be team not Von Miller.
I'm going to be team Peyton Manning. And you know what happens when you have Peyton Manning. You win. So there. And we're going to leave it at that. And this is team Russell Wilson, and this is team Peyton Manning.
You can be team Russell Westbrook.
Team Russ. That's right.
You'll be team Russell Wilson. You be team Russell Westbrook.
Well, this has been another Guerrilla Sports Off Field. We will be back again on Friday. Same time, same place, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, talking all things Denver Broncos, all things NFL. Thanks for hanging. I'm Liv Moods, BK, Nate Jackson. We're out of here, and we'll catch you Friday. See ya.